And next up, we're going to have Maria on. Her top coder handle is Nickolas. So let's welcome her.
You're gonna lose me. You're gonna have Harshit on this.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. Come on in.
Hey, check the comments. There's questions.
How are you doing, Maria? Good to see you again.
I answered.
Thank you so much for coming on. So, Maria is a problem writer here at Top Coder. And she's, you've also written the problem for this match, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So, what are they working on? What is the problem? What are these guys?
Working on today.
Yeah.
And so the problem is very simply formulated. You are given a grid of numbers, sort of a maze in which every tile is a number or a hole if the tile is missing, or a wild card, which is special tile. And you need to visit all numbers from 1 to the largest number in the maze in order.
Okay.
So first you need to go to a tile which has 1 on it, then 2, and so on. One trick is that if you are going to a tile 1, for example, all tiles with numbers greater than 1 on them get destroyed as you step on them.
Okay.
And you can never revisit them again.
Oh, okay.
So as you are moving toward your goal, you are destroying parts of your goal because you will need those tiles later in the game.
Interesting. Okay, so if I understand correctly, it's essentially a grid of cells, and they have numbers in them from increasing order. They could be equal. There could be multiple ones.
Yes, there can be several
So there could be
copies.
multiple of the same number. And so it's like a video game in a sense, where you would go in this maze. There'll be walls that you can only go around a certain direction.
There are not really walls.
Not really walls. So you're just going
Yes.
wherever. Okay. But once you hit a cell, you essentially step on it. It's essentially destroyed at that point. And so you're visiting these cells in increasing order. So what is the most optimized way that you could code in order to traverse and hit every number? And as she mentioned, there could be a scenario where you would hit a number, but it would block your way to get to, another number, or less quickly. So you could be building yourself a wall in that sense around another number.
Or for example, you could just destroy all copies of a certain number. So once you hit
Oh.
4, if you have destroyed all 5s, that's as far as you can go. There are also special tiles, wildcards, which once you get to them, they will work as your next goal number. So you can use them
Interesting.
as any number you need, but again, only once. Once you step on them, they become that number, and you cannot convert them into any other number.
Okay.
So there should be some interesting strategy around when do you want to use wildcards. Do you want to use them in the beginning
Yeah.
to get closer, to get things you need right now, or do you want
That's
to keep
interesting.
them for later?
Right.
So yeah, sorry, it's just a little soft. So I'm going to try to reiterate. So she mentioned that there are also wildcard spots as well. Hitting these wildcard spots will give you the next number in the sequence, or the number that you're on, but the code would need to know when to use it. So it needs to be strategic, potentially. So you don't want to use it right off the bat, probably, because you're just starting out. It could be that you need to use it to get somewhere else in the as you traverse through the cell. So a lot of things to think about. It sounds like. What do you think, Harshit?
Yeah, that sounds like an interesting problem. Do we have a visualizer with this?
Yes, of course. It's the finals after all.
It is the finals, and so we
Let's
have
check out some-
spectators here, and they get to see it on the kiosks.
That's we're
Which
fixing
is
that up.
we're fixing right now. But we, as the broadcast, have an opportunity to look at some of these screens. Now, this first screen that we're looking at, this is ATST 5515.
He's,
What's it look like he's doing right now?
He's a first-time finalist. So
Oh, he
it's-
is?
Yeah, and he's from Japan. We didn't have Chokadoi. He's on live right now.
Oh,
So,
yeah?
Hey Chokadoi. We miss you here, but it's good to have ATS and Tomiran from Japan come down and compete. So ATS is a new first-time finalist. So yeah.
Actually,
let's see how he performs.
before we go into this, that's a great idea. Again, we will have to do some editing right on the spot, but give us 1 second. We will show you all of our marathon finalists, all who are competing, and maybe we can get some stories on them as well. First up is who we were just looking at, ATST 5515. So he's a new first timer
Yes.
here at the TCO finals.
Yeah, I think he started competing in algorithm and marathon competitions like I think 3 years back. So it's pretty new into like if you compare it to the other competitors here. So yeah, I mean you can see the names like Marek and WLD and Eldido. So you can see the veterans competing, and then you can see the newbies coming in. So it's great to see someone like him here this time. Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and he was pretty. He was not 12th or 11th on the leaderboard qualification. He was pretty high up there in the 5th or 6th. So yeah, so
We'll see what he can do. See how he can hang.
must be a good competition for the veterans to look forward to. Yes.
Awesome. Let's move over to LD Do. He's a 4-time finalist, it seems.
Yeah, he's from France and he is qualified. I think the last time we saw him was in 2016.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Yes.
I think 16 was the year which I skipped.
Oh.
Oh, you skipped.
Oh yeah. So he was there in 16. So yeah, good to see him back. And he's ranked 2 in the marathon algo rank list right now.
Wow,
So,
number 2. Okay, so
yeah.
he may be a favorite.
yeah, he's a favorite. Yes.
All right, moving on to Eddie 2. This is
he's a regular algorithm guy. He recently he recently won a silver medal at ACM ICPC.
wow.
So and he was there in Facebook Hacker Cup. He directly comes from there and he's competing here. It's like a lot of competitions for him during these months, like last 3 or 4 months. So and again he's a first time marathon finalist. So I mean it's good to see Ericto and Tourist coming in from the algo track, and they start and have them compete in the marathon track.
Yeah, that's right, and we'll get to tourists a little bit later on, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Marek Saigan is here,
I'll have Nickolas speak about it. She's been seeing him more than I have
a
been actually.
10-time finalist. I'm
Yeah.
sure she has. Yeah, can you speak a little bit about Marek? Do you know anything about him? About his maybe coding style? Is he, or the way he thinks about problems? Is it? No, you don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, I have been meeting Marek since last like 4 years now.
Yeah.
And it's and I meet him in Poland when I go for the Poland regional.
right.
So yeah, he's one of those helpful guys who is helping the community. He's a professor at
He's a
his
professor.
University. So yeah, and
We have a professor competing in our,
Oh, yes.
our competition.
and the good part is he used to be an algorithm competitor back in 2006-7. He was a finalist back then in algorithms, and then he and Saiho they switched over to marathons
Marathon?
completely. I was having a nice conversation with them when I was in Poland, and I was asking them why don't you compete in algo anymore? And they're like, the algo problems back then were like were the level was not that high, which is actually
Right.
these days. So I just can't go back
like,
and compete today with the time limit of 1.5 hours or 2 hours. That's pretty stressful to go and compete. So it's good for us to compete in a week long marathon or a 15-day, 2-week long marathon. So yeah.
Then we have Milanin.
Right.
He's a 2-time finalist.
Yeah, he's also a regular competitor for marathon. Comes from Russia. Yeah. So
And then we have Mugurillionu.
there's an interesting story about Murgu really not. So Saiho, you guys know Saiho qualified for the finals this year, but he backed out, and
Yeah, what happened there?
He-
Sayo's typically a regular here, I feel like.
yeah, this year he decided to quit the marathons, and he says I'm going to retire from the marathons. He had a big Twitter post around that. And,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's sad for his fans, but
But these guys are probably like, yes, we have a chance
we
now.
might have somebody else winning this time. Yeah,
Yeah,
Not on the
we will
leaderboard.
definitely have a new champion. That's
Yeah.
for sure. That's for sure.
And Saiho is also known as Johnny Walker.
Johnny, why is that?
In the algorithm admins area, just because in 2016 his profile had a problem submitting the problems, so we created a
Just
a
a-
handle for
yeah.
him to submit, and that was Johnny Walker. So the leaderboard showed Johnny Walker submitting and going at the top. So that made it like that made him famous as Johnny Walker during that period in
Oh, that's
in,
funny.
in the admin in the arena for us. Yeah.
All right, well, we miss you, Saiho, but We need a new champion this year, so we'll find out later on this week. Let's see who else we have. We have Nika. I do remember seeing that name a lot.
Yeah, he's still
6-time finalist.
he's still six-time finalist, and he's a six-time finalist, and he still competes in algorithm matches too sometimes. So some of the years you might see him qualifying for the algorithm competitions too. So he's the one who keeps on, sometimes he's in qualifying for algorithm, sometimes for marathon. So I mean, he's good at both. So yeah, he's one of the regulars. I mean, I won't be. It won't be a surprise if he wins today. I mean, that would be good to see him win, because he's up to date. He's competing in all the competitions around other platforms and top coders, so he knows what kind of problems are there these days. Yeah. I mean, if I compare it to some of the veterans here,
Yeah.
they only like Marek. He only competes in the TCO rounds majorly.
Oh, okay.
So, and
Interesting.
and Nika, he competes in all the regular rounds also. He comes in and
Oh, he does like all of the.
he's also in algo. So
Oh,
he knows.
wow.
So as I told you, right, the complexity of problems in 2007, in
A little different now.
and
It's a little harder.
18 are it's more now.
Yeah.
So while he's competing in the regular competitions, he understands where the complexity is these days. So does that make sense? You might.
Then we have Paul Jeffries, 5-time finalist. Is he our only member from the UK
Yeah, he's the only member from UK.
representing? Do you
Yes.
know much about him? His style, his ranking, or
Yeah, I when I was a kid, back then, I used to see Paul Jeffries being announced in the introduction videos.
Yeah.
As very, like old Jeffries. So I remember him those days. Those days he used to be an algorithm finalist back then, and now, I mean, since a few years he's been competing in marathons, and he's coming down here. Yeah.
Awesome. And let's move on to SDYA, 2-time finalist.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see him, just because he also competes in a lot of sponsored marathon matches.
Okay.
So it's pretty excited to see him. Like, he's one of those who he and WDT are one of like two of those who are competing in sponsored marathon matches, and the fun marathon matches too. So good to see them on both the sides. I mean, that's what we aim for. That
And for those who don't know, what's the difference between a sponsored marathon match and
So the sponsored marathon matches are actually run by clients, and they have big prize money attached. So they are a real world problem to be solved for like NASA or for Harvard Medical School, or for the big clients we have. So the clients we have, that's a sponsored match. Yeah.
And then up next we have Tomoron,
Oh, yeah,
2-time
he's-
finalist from Japan.
Yeah, I mean, another regular marathon competitor.
Yeah?
Yes. And
And we'll see. You wouldn't be surprised if he was up there on the.
oh no,
Top?
yeah, he definitely he might win. Yes, he's like long time, and he has a big following in back in Japan.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, he Chokadoi, RNG,
Uh-huh.
Ringle.
Oh, yeah,
these
that's
guys
right.
have a big following
That's a lot of,
back in Japan. So yeah, so
high-profile names.
we will have him do a Japanese broadcast. Where he'll talk about the algorithm problems and the marathon problem day after tomorrow on Friday. Yeah.
Oh, is he doing algo as well?
Yeah, he's gonna speak a little bit about algo.
Oh.
Good problems about algo too. Yeah. So,
Cool.
Yeah. So
And
all
now-
the Japanese out there. I mean, I see
All the Japanese
Chokadoi and,
fans out there?
Yeah, you can actually, look out for that, and I know you guys are excited to hear him. Yeah. So,
And up next we have our only former champion here, Tourist.
yeah, he's the algorithm champion from 2014. So, yeah, it's I mean, it's
5-time. You told me a story about him, how he started, how long ago, and how old was he?
So I mean, he started back in when he was like I think 11 or 12. He started competing back then,
Wow.
and since then it's been a great journey for him. I mean, all the Google Code Jams and Top Quarter Open, Top Quarter Collegiate contest, Top Quarter High School contest. So it's been, if you start putting the finalists he has been at all the bigger competitions, it will just fill up the sheet here. So yeah, and it's and with tourists coming into marathons, we hope a lot of algorithm competitors will start looking into the marathon competitions. So that is what we hope for. Yes, and because marathons are interesting, guys. Marathons are really interesting. You get time to think.
Yeah.
And you get the regular marathons are either 1 week or 2 weeks, so you can go through it, and it's not just 1.5 hour strict competition, and it's not, marathons are different. So in in algorithm competitions, you have to pass every test case. You don't have any partial marking. If
Okay.
even one test case fails, you get zero. You get zero score.
Right.
But in marathons, you get partial marking, so that's how you get a score. So it's
see.
it's yeah. So you can still go and try. You can read the problem and try to just enter your first solution. You think that might just work for it. Get a small score for the first match, and then you can next matches you can like try and add more things to it.
Optimize.
Yeah, bring in your heuristics and make it more exciting. Do you have to add to that, like how marathons are different from algorithms?
That's the part I like, that you can experiment, you can try different approaches, and there's no one right solution. When
There
I
is no
write
one
a
right
problem,
solution,
I
it's true.
never think, okay, this is exactly how the winner will solve it, and either they find this or they find nothing. There are tons of approaches, and very often we are surprised by how some people solve the problems. In a good way, surprised.
Okay, I have a question for you. So you write problems for algorithms and marathons too, right?
Yes, more for marathons.
Yeah,
More
and,
for
and,
marathons.
and majorly for the round ones of TCO algorithms, right? And you have been consistent with those problems. So, like if you have to tell an algorithm problem writer about writing problems for marathons, what would you tell him? I mean, how should he like start thinking to write problems
she.
for marathons? Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of algorithm problem writers out there. So and I think they should start writing for marathons. So
Oh yes, we definitely need more writers.
yeah,
for
we need
marathons.
writers, guys. So
So yeah. So what would be your recommendation for like try it out? Like what would they need to know to be a good marathon match writer? Like how's it different than an algorithm writer?
My favorite difference is that when you write a marathon problem, again, you don't need to know the solution.
Right.
You don't actually need to be awesome at solving these problems. You just need to be able to come up with them. Which is why I write so many of them and compete in so few.
Oh, that's why she writes a lot of them and doesn't really compete in them. But that is also a really great fact. So the difference is that marathon, as she mentioned, there is no right answer. So they give you a few test cases for when you want to test your code, and you may or may not pass those tests. But in the final after the whole thing is done, it gets run through how many 100,000 test cases?
Usually a couple of thousand.
A couple of thousand. So which they don't have access to when they submit. So they get to just keep going and optimize their code more and more. So maybe they'll solve it in 2-3 hours for those test cases. But there's always room for improvement. As for the algorithm, there is a right answer, and
yeah.
and if you solve it and it passes all test cases, good, and so the other one's a little bit different. But it sounds super exciting. How many hours are they competing today?
12 hours.
12 straight
I
hours.
think 10 hours, sorry.
10 hours.
10 hours, yes.
Still a long time.
Yeah. I want to ask you this question. When is the last time you competed in a marathon match? Do you even remember that?
That was definitely before I came to US, so more than 6 years ago.
More than 6 years ago.
Probably 8 years ago, something like this.
Around 8 years.
I'm finding the exact time actually.
Oh, he's gonna find the exact time here.
Yeah. That was back in 2010. That was marathon match 59.
And just a writer ever since.
Yeah, she's been writing.
That's
Do you
great.
know the number? The number of marathon problems you have written?
I think this one is my 56.
56?
Oh wow, that's amazing. But yeah, I mean, we should bring in more writers, right? You have been emphasizing on that, so we need more writers. If you want to write problems for marathons, make sure you reach out to us. Make sure you reach out to me, Nickolas, or T-Mac, and we'll be able to rope you in and have you on the board.
Now, we left a little early. We're going to go back here. And W. Lati, we haven't talked
Oh,
about
yeah,
him
we should-
yet.
Yeah.
He is a 9-time finalist,
Ranked number 1.
ranked number 1, has been to the TCO finals 9 times, but has never won. But he's gotten really close multiple times, correct?
Yeah. I mean, he's like the guy to send you to if you want to speak about marathons.
Yeah.
Like ask him what are marathons. Like he's participated in almost like all of them.
Oh,
like
wow.
he competes in sponsored matches. He competes in the regular matches. And the interesting part is WLET is he works for Brazilian government as a in the cybercrime branch.
Oh, wow.
So he works there. He competes on top order matches, and this guy is like to look for, like the guy to look for if you like want to compete in marathons. To go and look in his codes, like the way he codes, because I hope like all these years the number of matches you compete, you tend to improve in the way you code. So
Right.
if you want to check out like what is like the best written solution or the well-written solution for a marathon problem, like go and check his code from previous marathons. Like
Interesting.
that is going to be that is the regular guy who competes in every match, improves in every match, and he's ranked 1. So
And
I-
is
I
that
read
possible to look at other people's code after a match?
Yes,
Is that
yes.
something Top Coder provides? Like-
Yes, not for the sponsored matches,
Okay.
but you can definitely look for the regular fun matches. And there are, if you go to the forums after every match, there's an interesting post your approach thread.
Okay.
So that post your approach thread actually acts as a very good way to like go and see like what this competitor, how this competitor approached the problem.
Right.
Yeah, and that forum is available for all the problems, even the sponsored matches. So that is actually a very good way to quickly read through what approaches that other competitors have. Yeah.
Very cool. Let's take a look at some of these screens. I think we're still on.
I can't wait to see the
AT, it's-
visualizer running.
Yeah, it would be nice to see that, but
We
it might
actually
still be
have
early.
an animated GIF in the statement for this precise.
Oh, we do. Well, let's see if we can find it as we go through people. We have El Didu coming up. He seems to be on his way.
This one?
We see a few. We see a few wild statements in there. Some recursion going on. And as you said, you don't really need to think of the answer of how they're going to do it, right? So we wouldn't be able to tell if they're on the right track or not. They have their own ways, right, of going about it.
Early in the match.
Right. Well, it looks like he's got some classes going already. He's thinking about it. In your experience, do marathon competitors like to write on paper first before they start coding, or is it different from competitor to competitor?
It's probably different, but I suspect that there is less writing on paper compared to algorithm matches because the problems are less mathematical. This one is definitely not very mathematical.
Not very
Sometimes
mathematical. Okay.
if there is something about probabilities or geometry, for example, if there's geometry, you can't do it without paper probably. But sometimes it's better to just jump in and write some code and see how it works.
Very cool. Yeah, we see some arrays here, some matrices.
And these arrays are just for going around in a two-dimensional grid.
Two-dimensional grid,
Adjacency.
right? Which makes sense for this problem.
Perfect sense. It
That's-
would be weird to have something three-dimensional.
Yeah, then they might be on the wrong track at that point. Let's go over to Eritu. He does have the spec, it looks like, or the problem on the left here, as he seems to want to code in a smaller window here, which should be fine. And you don't want too wide of code. You have any thoughts, Harshit? Do you understand all this?
Not yet.
Not
I
yet?
have to go and look at the kiosk and see what's happening here. But yeah, we have Stonefang, known as Red Bush on Code Forces. He's Ericto's teammate for ACM ICPC.
Oh,
So yeah, he's
Is he
there
watching?
and he's actually cheering for Ericto today.
Yeah?
So yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, we'll leave this up here for a few more seconds for his fans. Maybe they can kind of see his approach and what he's working on. And what is he's
He's saying he'll win for sure.
he what?
He
He'll win
says-
for sure?
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see on Friday. It looks like and do most people use one type of technology for this? Is it C++, C++? Typically?
We only allow 5 languages
Okay.
to use.
And
for
they get to
marathons
choose,
and
right?
SRMs, yeah.
So it looks like this person's using C++.
But usually somebody picks their own language and they stick to it in all matches.
Yeah.
People don't frequently switch between languages, between matches.
All right, let's move over to Merrick, see where he's at. He's got 2 windows going. So why would he have 2 coding windows open?
He
What do you
might be
think?
writing a tester.
It looks like it's the same file, too. It's interesting.
I mean, the code length is going to be long, so I think he might be having this. He has the same problem open on.
Yeah, same
both
file
the-
open.
Yeah, so. I think he's reading 2 parts of the code.
Yeah, and it looks like he's debugging as well. He's putting some breakpoints in there. Seeing what the value is at that point in time. So do,
Is anybody showing the visualizer? Yeah.
oh, we saw it for a second. Let's see, we might see it here actually. Here we go. So as we were mentioning before, you have to go in increasing order. Does the initial start point, is it different on each test case? Or does it start at a certain cell? It starts at,
For each test case, it's the same for all test runs. So for seed 1, it's always the same. For seed 2, it's always the same.
oh wow, here's a larger test case here. So again, this person needs to, oh, you can go from one end and come out the other side.
Yes,
That's
it wraps
possible.
around.
It wraps, okay.
We didn't want to have solutions sort of back themselves in a corner and not be able to get out.
Okay.
It will happen eventually, but not that soon.
Okay. So it looks like we thought he got stuck, but I think there's a break point here because he wants to see what happens in that specific case. So as you saw, for those of you who may not be too familiar, there's that little marker that kind of roams around that that grid. And so it's just crawling and going to the next largest number in there. You saw like little red question marks. Those are wildcards. Upon hitting one of those, it acts as the next number in your sequence. And then it disappears. Once you cross one of those numbers, it acts as a wall. So if you come close to it again, you would have to go around it in order to achieve your goal. So it looks like that was our first look into the visualizer. Let's move on, see if anyone else is doing that as well. We have Milanin, who is programming in C++ as well. Good to see we have some two-dimensional arrays. Now, I know like with algorithm, you can kind of set up like templates in a way, because there's certain ways to do it. Maybe classes, can you use classes that you brought home with you or brought from home?
I mean, you can include files.
Include
is that
files?
what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you can include. It's very easy to. When you're using C++, it's good to include the standard library STL
Okay.
to make it easier for you to quickly sort things out, sort an array, or to quickly create a linked list or quickly create a tree. So yeah, members are allowed to include the external header files to use those things. Yeah.
Oh wow, look at that go. So in the visualizer, when we see it stop like that, does that mean it got stuck And
Either it means that the objective is accomplished, or it means that the solution kind of did all it wanted to do. So either it reached the last number. Oh, wow, this is good.
so it stopped there, which means
It means it reached number 46 and it was the largest number on the grid, so nothing more interesting for it to do. Or if the solution doesn't try to reach the largest number, if it only wants like the first 10 numbers,
oh,
maybe
okay.
it stops after that.
You know, I think in my head I figured that the whole grid would be gray because, and you had to get like to that one point, but you just need to get increasing order, and you can go over numbers, but once you select it, that's when it goes dead. Is when once you select the number, that cell goes away.
So the cells go away if you walk on them on your way to a certain number, and the number in that cell is greater than that target. So
Oh,
it is perfectly safe to walk on cells which are smaller than your target.
I see.
Like once you
And they
have
don't
hit-
disappear.
Yes. So this is how you can preserve
wow.
some bridges for yourself for later.
That is insane. Just the amount of scenarios you have to think about is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Let's move on. We have Mugurilionuts is not showing right now. That's fine. We will come back to him. Here is Nika. And we get a little visualizer here. So he's got. I like looking at the variables sometimes. Target, killed. So okay, I'm starting to understand this a little bit more. So to reiterate, you can walk all around the grid, and as long as you are walking on numbers that are equal or less, they won't gray out. They won't disappear. Once you do, however, it will create that barrier for you. So that's why you see a lot of those gray boxes there. They walked over a number that was higher than the number that they were currently on. So some people we've seen have gone through the whole grid and finished it, but that doesn't mean they're done, right? They still can go through and optimize their solution.
Yes, the scoring is based on both how far along you got into your goal, so what number you managed to reach, and on the total value of the tiles which you destroyed on your way.
Oh,
So you need at this both get far along in the numbers to reach, and you need to destroy
least
a
amount.
significant the other way around. You
Oh.
need to destroy as many cells as you
Oh.
can on your way.
Because as you destroy it makes it difficult for you to maneuver, so the more you do, the more...
Yes. So if you destroy
see.
everything on your way to 1, then you don't have a 2 to go to.
Oh, I see.
Oh, okay.
And also the later in the game you destroy the cells, the more they are worse. There is a multiplier. The value of the destroyed cell is multiplied by the value of the number which you are going to reach in the score.
Oh, I see.
So the best thing is to kind of delay them and delay destruction until later. It's not very valuable to destroy everything when you're hunting for 1, because then it will just have 1 multiplier.
Okay.
If you postpone it just a little bit to while you're hunting for 2, you'll immediately get a double increase in score.
That's... Well, don't tell them that. I'm sure they already figured it out, however.
Yeah.
Let's go on to Paul Jeffries here. He's programming in Java. I think this is the first one that we've seen so far. The problem is called Vanishing Maze for those that were interested in that.
Because sort of the maze vanishes
Right.
if you walk along it.
Exactly. Aptly named. So when they submit, they have to come into here and copy paste their code. Is that how it works?
Mm-hmm.
So why would he submit now? What's the to get a score?
Yeah, he's
Up
running
on
his
this
code
leaderboard.
with example test cases. So
All right.
So when he does a full submission, if this is what he's doing, he will be able to get a score relative to everybody else who has already submitted.
All right, and we will be getting some of that scoreboard action here on the live stream. We're gonna be working on that. We'll probably
oh,
tune in a little later on. What is this? What are we looking at here?
he's looking at the old problem.
This is one of the previous problems from round 4, I think. Cake sharing, also written by me.
Is he trying to get some insight of maybe? Oh, you think this was his submission?
He's copying his header files. He used them.
Oh, so he was probably using. Okay.
Because
I saw he got
nobody-
some errors on the submission, so this is probably why.
Yeah, nobody wants to type this by hand.
Oh no, he misspelled include there, I think. Oh, did he? No.
And actually, there is something interesting on the leaderboard right now. Milanin has made a submission.
Full submission.
A full submission.
He is sort of very famous for not making any submissions until the last hour of the competition.
We're gonna get that for you in like 2 minutes.
All
We're
right.
gonna get you the scoreboard.
That's great, because we are starting to talk. So you mentioned, for those who didn't hear it, I actually didn't hear it either. So it's interesting that Milanin has had one full submission. Why is that?
Because usually he doesn't submit until the last hour of the competition.
Oh,
That's
interesting.
Milanin, yes.
Last
Really?
year we were watching him and it was like half an hour until the end and we were like, is he even going to submit?
And what is there any strategy to that, to submitting early or not? Is it because they don't want people to know where they are in their
On
process?
one hand, yes. On the other hand, if you're not submitting, the problem uses relative scoring. So for each test case, you get your score divided by the largest score anybody did get on this case.
Oh,
So if you submit, you get some information on where you are compared to others. But then everybody else also gets this information.
interesting.
So there are some trade-offs.
So I think maybe this year he's going to be trying something a little new, see if it helps him out this time. It looks like we have another submission coming in. Eri 2 has 5 full submissions. He is leading the way in full submissions. And we are waiting for the update on where it will place him on the leaderboard. And it looks like we have a couple other submissions coming in. Currently, we have Milanin on the top, Tourist second, Rito third, which will be changing perhaps, SDYA in fourth, Nika in fifth, and zeros after that. So no one has, those people haven't submitted yet. But still, a lot of time left. We're going to be here for a while. That's why they call it a marathon match. After Arito's update, he is still in third. So, and we'll be giving you, again, we'll be sharing this leaderboard with you in a few minutes.
And you can always go on the website and check for the leaderboard.
Sure?
Yeah.
Go on the web. Where on the website? Exactly.
You can go to the marathon match homepage.
Okay.
And you can like find the marathon match. It's in the active contests,
Okay.
and you can like see the leaderboard. In the
Time
timing
val
sessions.
structure. What does he seem to be doing here? Doing a little research on something? Does he seem to be having an issue with the structure,
I
maybe?
can never remember the right syntax of this kind of things.
I guess he hasn't either. All right, let's go to SDYA. SDYA currently in fourth place is on his Windows Explorer. Maybe we'll come back to him Tomarun, who has yet to submit. Actually, let's move back to Paul Jeffries. It looks like he is making a submission. Might be running in the background there. So he's got one full submission, and we'll see what his score comes out to be. And they're not wasting time. So while it's being processed, he's still going to be working on his solution. He doesn't have to wait.
Yeah.
To see,
So
right?
when they submit, it takes time for the systems to get to calculate the score and get it on the leaderboard.
Uh-huh.
So in the meantime, they just go back and they start. They compete. They start competing.
Oh, Paul Jeffries just hopped up to the
Whoa.
top with his submission. So this was his first full submission, and he takes the top spot. Now it looks like he's doing some testing again. And as Maria mentioned, as you see those gray squares coming up, that means that they are traversing along a number that is higher than their current number.
And the light gray squares.
Oh, I
with
didn't even notice that.
numbers on them. They are the ones on which it is safe to walk. The
Oh.
ones which are smaller than your current wall.
Okay, so the visualizer does show that to you. That's great to know.
If
So
if you go on the lighter ones, if you go on the
gray?
the white ones again,
White,
so
huh?
do you lose some score or
The white ones are the ones which are larger than your current wall.
okay?
They will turn.
If you go on them, you
Dark.
get score, but you will destroy them. If you go on the light gray ones, they're smaller than your current
You can
wall.
transit.
You can walk on them however much you want, but you don't get any score for that.
Get it? Okay.
And the other part of the objective is to create a lot of these dark squares.
Yes, because that's what you get score for.
That's what you get scored for. So you want to see a lot of those dark squares as you make your way to the largest number on the map, on the grid.
Do you lose score when you transit? No. I mean, it's free to transit from the light grays.
Yes.
Yes.
You never lose score, you just gain.
Or from the ones which are lesser than your, right? Okay.
So again, we are currently looking at Paul Jeffries, who is on the top of the leaderboard. We just had another submission from Nika, who does take the second spot. So currently on our leaderboard, Paul Jeffries, Nika, Milanin, Eritu, Tourist, SDYA, and W. Lati, all with scores. Everyone else yet to submit. So still waiting on them. We haven't finished going through everybody, so let's go back to Tomadron. Let's see what he's doing here. Developing in Java. Good to see another visualizer there. And as a reminder, you see some of those question marks there. What are the red ones mean?
Red ones means you can go to this cell as your next goal. So it's right now your next goal is 1, and you can go either to a cell which has 1 on it, or you can go to a wild card which will act as 1 for you. So red ones are the set of cells to one of which you want to get now.
So, so there are test cases that already have dark squares on them.
Yes.
Okay.
Initially, most of them do.
And this part's interesting because you wouldn't be able to reach it already, that area.
I don't see what's in the top right corner. You
Oh,
might
that's
be able
right.
to reach it from there.
You're
and
right.
Then wrap around, or go on this one, go down from it, and you will end up on that 12.
Okay.
And then if you go left, 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 if there is a tile here, you will get out of that area.
So I know people can't see what we're pointing at, but so if you see that 14, 13, 12 in the top left, I got confused because I was like, oh, I don't know if you can even reach that. But she did point out that this grid does wrap. It wraps around. So from that 12, you could go up and hit that 1.
The only walls are the grayed out cells.
Yes,
Yeah.
the walls are the grayed out cells. And likewise, from the 14, you can go left, and there's potentially a space we can't see because of the coding window. But we may see some action here in a little bit. So again, this is Tomarun. Are people, are his fans saying anything?
I think Choker is his left is not here now.
Oh.
So yeah,
He's one fan.
yeah.
All right, let's move along. We haven't yet hit on Tourist. Ooh, Tourist has got the big visualizer on. So again, those light gray squares, you are able to walk on without it turning to a gray spot. However, you want those or the dark gray spots
To get as much score as possible.
to get as much score. Correct. Ooh, he's got this little blue.
That's a far manager.
Oh, the farm manager.
Yeah, it helps you run through the files. Exactly.
So I see he's got a little a line there with about the wild card, aptly named so. Descriptive names, somewhat easy to follow. You have the board, obviously, meaning the entire grid. Are the sizes of the grids everything? Is it from like minimum? Do they know what the minimum is, or?
Yes, it's in the constraints. It's from 10 by 10 up to 40 by 40, I think.
10 by 10, 40 to 40.
Yeah.
Those are the sizes of the grids that they're working with. So they do have constraints, which
Yes.
helps them.
They have all the visualizer source so that they can check exactly how we generate the test cases.
Okay.
Full information.
So if you're new to programming, constraints help you decide the data types. If you have to use a long or if you have to use long, or so that helps you choose that.
And they help you figure out what the runtime of your solution will be.
Exactly.
Can you do force power or 2 to the power of n, or do you need something better?
Right.
All right, we still haven't touched on W. Lati. Let's just see where he's at right now. Potentially the favorite of this match, ranked number 1, right,
Ranked number
Harshit? So looks like he's got a test method there. And he's programming in Java, his language of choice. A lot of if statements there, a lot of checking. Ooh, okay, here's the visualizer. Looks like we have 3 dark squares to start off. He's just making sure he's ready to begin it. So I saw it on there. It looked like the cell it started on was at a 40 or something. It was on 43 already. It's maybe a breakpoint too, though. Are you excited for it, Harshit?
Yeah, we're gonna have Nickolas back again.
Good.
When the match ends, and before that we'll have T-Mac come in and speak about some of the problems. So we'll have you back to speak with Marek and Paul and ask them about their approaches. So are you excited for that?
Yeah. Also, because I'm here, they will only be able to say nice things about the problem.
Which is the good part, yes. And then they can go back in forums and speak about it.
All right, looks like we may have the leaderboard up for you guys. Let's see if we can pull that up. There it is. So as we mentioned, Paul Jeffries is on top with 641,000. What's the max number? Is it 999?
Theoretically, you could
Theoretically.
get 1 million
1 million
if you're the best on everything.
on everything. Right. A perfect score that beats out everybody else would earn you 1 million points.
Right.
Obviously, we've never seen that.
We've seen closer to like 980, 100. So yeah.
I know it's early, but any surprises here? Anything that stands out to you? Any of you?
No.
Not right now.
Yeah.
Other than that very unexpected submission from Milanin.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, I would not have known that. And he hasn't submitted since, so let's see if...
This is his
We
last
see what we
submission before the last half an hour.
He did just enough to throw all the competitors off balance.
Oh,
Gets them
interesting.
guessing what's his game.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of these competitors know each other or know their styles, so maybe that when they saw him submit, they're like, okay, wait, what's going on? Like, that's gonna throw me off right now. All right, I think that'll do it for this segment. We will have Maria back on soon, and again, here's who is competing in the marathon match, and we will come back to you a little bit later on. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk about it later. We'll keep an eye on it throughout the day. So thanks so much.
Talk to you later.
Yep. Bye-bye. Alrighty, and thank you, Harshit.
Yeah.
That was amazing. We're going to go to a brief commercial break, and we'll cut off this broadcast, but we'll be back on soon. Check the schedule. I'll check it too, and I'll see you in a bit. Bye-bye.